Well, hello everybody. Welcome to beginner guitar video number 9. We're going to continue on the scale now and just we're going to get that fretboard filled out. I realize now that on the last video, for whatever reason, I didn't finally talk about the F sharp chord, probably because I'm a moron. So let's cover that real quick. So what's going on with that F sharp chord and why do I keep avoiding it? Well, I can't really make it happen down there in a way that makes sense in the old 1-3-5. So we're gonna move it up here. E's there, F sharp. Well, it's a minor chord. What's that mean? There's a minor third followed by a minor third. You hear that? Yeah, that's why we didn't talk about it yet, because it's a pretty gnarly chord. And it's not something that you would catch yourself strumming along to in the middle of a song very often. It works nice to go to the next chord. That's its whole job. It's called a leading tone chord. It leads to the next chord. So if you go, that's a nice move. It takes you back home. That's the one chord, your G chord. Remember, everything we're doing right now is in G. Now, there are ways to kind of fret it back here. None of them are awesome. That's one of them, but that's the super gnarly version. The kind of gnarly version is this one. Okay. I will show you how to play that now. You've got your middle finger on the second fret, the F sharp. Your ring finger on the second fret, and that is the E. It's the 7th of the chord. We're not going to get too carried away on why that's there right now. Just go with me on it. Okay. The 3rd of the chord is right there. And that's an A, 2nd fret of the D string, or the G, 2nd fret of the G string, sorry. And then 1st fret of the B string, that's C, is your flat 5 or tritone, and that's what makes that chord sound that way. Like I said, that chord's purpose really is to pass back up to that guy. So, you know, if you did like a 1-4-5 thing and put it in there, you know, it works, and that's up to you whether or not you would use that chord, but that's kind of my go-to shape for that guy. Is that there's not really a good, like, you know, bar shape for it. You just keep moving that same thing around and you've got your diminished chord. So there, we finally talked about it. We got that out of the way, the old naughty chord. Now let's continue on with the scale. We're going to do the Phrygian section of the scale. What does that mean? The Phrygian just means you start from the 3rd scale degree of your original key, which for us is G. That's still the same. That's what we're doing. We're filling out G. Okay? So for that, you start at the 7th fret and you use your diminished shape. So you've got 7, 8, 10. Okay, now we know from what we keep talking about, you're either going to have 2 diminished in a row, or if you only use one, next thing is minor for your shapes. Well, in this case, you only use 1 diminished, and then you've got minor, minor, and then you've got your 3 majors in a row, like we get when you come at them from underneath. When you come underneath the majors, you're going to get 3 in a row. When you start either in the middle of them or whatever, you might only have 1 or 2. And again, you just learn the beginning of each mode and then you know how to progress from there. In this case, the beginning of Phrygian starts with a diminished shape, 2 minor shapes, 3 major shapes. Okay, That's Phrygian. And I'm gonna really start leaning harder on this remember the shapes thing. That way we're not like always talking about the frets, because once we start moving into other keys and stuff, it's way easier just to go, hey, you remember the shapes, the order of the shapes? Way simpler, right? Now, frets wise, I will cover the frets this time. So that the first time I cover any of these, we'll talk about the frets. So you got two points of reference. So I've given you the shapes, and then we'll cover the frets too. So you got 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 11. Now we got the funny string, so you got to go up that extra fret. Okay, now we've got 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12. And back down. Okay. Now, the farther up the fretboard we get, the more I recommend you practice going from one mode to the other. You know, you could practice descending on your Phrygian and ascending back here on the major. Let's hit Phrygian again. Remember, the top of that's 12. Maybe ascend Locrian. And that'll really help you start to connect the dots between each scale shape, and then it'll start to solidify it in your mind as one organic thing instead of 7 separate shapes, because you don't want to think like that. You don't want to be stuck thinking, oh, the Phrygian shape, oh, the major shape. No, you want to eventually see all of that as like one big thing. It's kind of like on the Matrix, you know, when he starts seeing all the numbers and he gets it. That's where you want to get your brain to, because then from there, I just walked through all of those modes on different strings to end up there, right? And that's how you want to be able to play the guitar too. Fluid, seamless through all of these things, but stay in the correct key for whatever you're trying to do. Now, in the middle of that, might you someday be changing keys for a certain segment of a song? Absolutely. But for now, learn all of G major and how all those modes go together. Now, we do have a little extra time, so we're going to cover another mode. We went from Phrygian, now we got a half step up to the 4th of the scale, and we're going to cover Lydian, the Lydian shape. The Lydian shape finally happens where I talked about, where you start on the back half of your major shapes. You only got one major shape, so you go major, diminished, diminished, minor, minor, up a fret because you're at the weird string, and then major. Okay. Now, back down. So there's a couple of ways you can think about that. Again, the shapes I discussed, you can go, okay, it's a major, diminished, diminished, minor, minor, major. Or if you relate it back to what you've already learned back there about the major, what would it be like if you just started from this string? It would be exactly like if you started from here and put another string on top. So make those connections in your head. Like, oh, okay, that's the 4th, but hey, that's the 4th too, right? So when I play from here, I'm playing all the exact same notes I was playing from here, but up a little more because now I've got this other string up here. So that's kind of cool little associations that you want to start making between these things, and that will help you fluidly run through all of it. So we covered 2 modes today. Well, I suppose for the Lydian, I'll run over the fret numbers too instead of just shapes and all that, just so you have it. I mean, if that helps, I try to give people as many ways to learn something as possible, because the more ways you learn it, the more accessible it is. You always have fail safes. So Lydian, we're starting from the 8th fret. 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 11, 12, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14. And hey, that's an F sharp, so that's where you're at when you finish Lydian like that. So there you go, guys. I hope this has been helpful. I hope I'm getting better at this. I feel like I'm getting better at this, but then I always watch these back and I'm like, yeah, you probably should have said that different. No, that doesn't make any sense. But as long as it makes sense for you guys, that's the main thing, and I hope it does. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you know anybody that wants to play guitar or learn this stuff, that'd be awesome. Or just watch together to laugh at, like, oh, look at a big goof. Whatever, I don't care. You have a wonderful day. You're going to do awesome on this thing. I'm sure you're going to, hopefully you learn quicker than I did. That would be fantastic. I love seeing that kind of stuff where people pick something up and they go, wow, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And that's my goal, is for you to understand that, like, this is really not that complicated. At the end of the day, it's not as hard as people make it seem. The hard part is just putting the time into it to get your hands working properly. The easy part to me is like, oh, I just memorize these shapes and then you're golden. You don't really have to think too hard about it. Anyhow, have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.